Number 10. Signal. Duke Thomas's parents were victims of the Joker, but before that, years before, they helped Batman during his 0 year, rescuing him and taking care of him. After Duke's parents were driven insane by the Joker, he became a vigilante, joining the team known as the Robins. Batman later offered him the opportunity to join the Batfamily, and Duke Thomas took up the mantle Signal. He also found out he had metahuman abilities, making him one of the few superpowered members of the Batfamily. Signal's powers allow him to perceive light differently from most humans. He can view light at superhuman speeds, giving him sort of clairvoyant abilities. Number 9. Batwoman. Batwoman is Kate Kane, Batman's cousin in the comics. This version of the character was part of a redesign first appearing in 2006. She was originally a member of the military who was discharged after they learned she was gay. Since then, with the help of her father and sometimes the help of her cousin, Bruce Wayne, she became a vigilante going as Batwoman. Batwoman is not just a skilled combatant but also boasts of genius-level intellect, like many of the other Batman family members, and can speak multiple languages. She has an indomitable sense of will that has allowed her to withstand supernatural and magical influences, and is just as stealthy as the Bat himself. Number 8. Red Hood. Red Hood was originally Batman's second Robin. His civilian name is Jason Todd, and he even ended up being adopted by Bruce. During his time as Robin, he ended up leaving Batman and heading out on a journey to find his birth mother. On that adventure, which Batman ended up finding him and joining him on, he ran into the Joker. His mother sold him out, and the Joker then beat Jason Todd almost to death before blowing him and his mother up with a bomb. Batman arrived too late to save Jason or his mother, and this has remained a failure which Batman considers one of his greatest. Todd would later return as Red Hood, being resurrected in part and guided for a time by Talia al Ghul. When he did return to Gotham, it was originally as somewhat of a villain. However, Jason would eventually join the Batfamily again, having more of an anti-hero status as someone who isn't opposed morally to killing those villains that he feels deserves it, and bringing his own brand of justice to Gotham. Jason isn't against using guns, but also doesn't need them to be a badass. He has also been shown to be highly skilled with a sword. Duke retrained him after he was resurrected, also granting him the ability to be in control of his mind on a deeper level, giving him telepathic resistance and strong mind control defenses. Number 7. Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul, daughter of one of Batman's greatest enemies and sometimes ally, Ra's al Ghul. Or Ra's al Ghul, depending on how you like to say it. Damian Wayne was dropped on Batman's doorstep when he was just a child, and having been raised by his mother, a skilled assassin, and raised along with the League of Assassins themselves, he proved to be a problem and challenge to Bruce originally, as he had both a sense of entitlement surrounding his being a Wayne and had no aversion to killing people. Due to his training from a young age, he has proved his prowess and efficiency in combat as a deadly opponent to those villains he comes up against. He has made quick work of well-known Batman villains like Victor Zsasz and Man-Bat. He's also proved in the past to be a worthy adversary for other Robins as well, although now he sees them more like brothers, so that's good. Number 6. Orphan. One of the deadliest members of Batman's team, in the same vein of Damian actually, but without the attitude really. Orphan is Cassandra Cain. She is the daughter of David Cain and Lady Shiva, and was rigorously trained from a young age to become a killing machine. She was not permitted to speak and never taught how to while growing up, instead communicating solely through body language, making her an expert combatant as she can use one's body language to read how and when they will attack. It's also very hard to intimidate Cassandra when it comes to the shock factor, as she was desensitized to death and violence from a very young age, being forced to witness multiple murders. She also has the potential to high-five you hard enough to break your hand. Fortunately, she's learned not to do that. Number 5. Batgirl. Batgirl isn't even just a Batgirl. She has been known by both the Batgirl mantle and her codename Oracle, a genius hacker, computer whiz, and master data sleuth for Batman and the leader of the Birds of Prey after she became paralyzed by the Joker from the waist down when he shot her through the spine. She not only has a brilliant mind, but she also is a skilled combatant. Even before she was Batgirl, she was known as a driven and determined young woman by those she trained with. Before even becoming Batman's protege, she studied martial arts and ballet, both of which helped to provide her with the strength, agility, and flexibility needed later on in combat. Bab's reflexes are so sharp we've even seen her dodge bullets in combat, and easily disarm opponents who are armed with guns. Truly a Batfamily member that Batman would be proud of. Even when she felt shame surrounding letting herself be shot by the Joker, Batman was still by her side. She was worried he would also be disappointed in her like she kind of was with herself, but he only expressed concern for her well-being. Barbara rarely, if ever, disappoints Batman. Number 4. Red Robin. Tim Drake is known for being one of the smartest Robins around. He is a brilliant detective, in fact so good that he is expected to be on the same level as one of the world's greatest detectives, Batman himself. In fact, it's also been implied that Tim Drake will likely one day surpass Batman when it comes to his detective skills. The way that he originally became Robin was through discovering the secret identities of both Batman and Robin, who was Jason Todd at the time. Following Todd's death, Drake noticed that Batman seemed to need a Robin to help give him balance, and ended up convincing the Dark Knight to take him under his wing, making him the third Robin of Batman. Number 3. Nightwing. Dick Grayson has taken Batman's place before, and what's more, he was fairly good at it. In fact, he's probably one of the most likely currently to be the person to take over for Batman, as long as he's got his memories, which have been gone more often than not in recent years. Dick was Batman's first Robin, and through the comics we've seen him become one of Batman's steadfast allies, almost appearing like an adoptive son to Bruce, destined to take up the mantle of Batman one day. Well, actually, maybe, if we're lucky and the writers let it happen, we'll actually get to see him take up the mantle on a more permanent level. That'd be pretty cool. Number 2. Azrael. After Batman's back was broken by Bane, Sean Paul Valley was the one who Bruce turned to take up the Batman mantle in his absence. Jean Paul proved a powerful force when it came to his time as Batman, so powerful in fact that it took Batman, Robin, and Nightwing to take him down. The final showdown of course came down to Azrael and Batman, and in the end, Jean Paul surrendered the armor, cape, and cowl. Number 1. Alfred Pennyworth. Alfred might not have any superpowers, but he really doesn't need any to be considered one of the most powerful and influential members of the Batman family. Alfred is Batman's butler, his guide, his father figure, and has saved him in more than one way many times throughout the comics. As we can see currently in the Joker War story arc from the 2016 Batman run, which will be ending shortly, Batman is lost without Alfred. Alfred also has tons of past military experience and was a professional actor, and was sought after by the Wayne family to take his father Jarvis's place as their butler. In the Injustice series, Alfred also reveals there is no length he would not go to when it comes to protecting Bruce Wayne, who he thinks of as a son. After Superman breaks Batman's back, it's Alfred who forces him to back down, ingesting a pill which grants him superhuman strength and durability, allowing him to break Superman's nose. Yeah, Alfred's a badass. Number 10. Ace the Bat Hound. Ace the Bat Hound was a German Shepherd that Robin and Batman teamed up with in Batman issue 92. The dog had been attempting to locate his owner when Batman and Robin found and rescued him. Bruce put an ad in the paper attempting to help the dog find its true owner. Shortly after, the dog ended up getting loose from the Batcave. Robin quickly made a disguise for the dog as Batman was concerned due to the ad that they'd placed in the paper and the distinct appearance of Ace that people might see them with him and connect the dots between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Eventually Ace was reunited with his owner again, but he would later return to team up with the dynamic duo once more in the future. More than once actually, I think. Number 9. Batmite. Batmite is a magical imp, similar to Superman's Mr. Mxyzptlk. He advocates that he is Batman's #1 fan, and as such pretty much exclusively wears his own little Batman costume. Unfortunately, he's usually not very powerful in a helpful sort of way. Batman came from a dimension where he and other imps idolized the heroes of Batman's dimension. As such, he usually would try to orchestrate events so that he could see Batman in action, usually creating problems for Batman to then solve and inevitably kind of annoying him. However, Batmite never intended to annoy his hero and would generally stop when he realized he was being a nuisance. Similar to Mr. Mixie, Batmite demonstrates magical powers which allow him to alter reality somewhat. He also shoots lightning bolts out of his fingers, and he can turn invisible. Number 8. Bluebird. Harper Row is a super skilled electrician who started fixing things from a young age after her and her brother were left alone, often abandoned by their father on a regular basis whom they lived with. Harper would run into Batman after he saved her and her brother Cullen from a large group of bullies. This inspired her to try and track Batman down, and she began looking for him online. She ended up assisting Batman and later saving his life with her own makeshift defibrillator, and after that she joined the Batfamily, taking up the mantle of Bluebird. She would later leave her role as a vigilante to go back to school and study to become an engineer. But before that she would demonstrate how skilled she was by constructing her own weapons and armor, which had its own anti-nanobot field. Number 7. Huntress. Whether we're talking about Helena Bertinelli or Helena Wayne, Catwoman and Batman's daughter, either way, Huntress tends to be considered a sometimes ally to Batman, and a powerful one at that. Helena Wayne has since been relegated to existing on Earth 2, and was raised by her parents there to become a hero. She decided to strike out on her own after the death of her mother, Selina Kyle. Being trained by both Batman and Catwoman makes her an insanely skilled combatant. Helena, like Helena Bertinelli of Prime Earth, is also known for her trademark crossbow, which is usually her preferred weapon of choice. Number 6. Spoiler. For the purpose of this list, we are going to talk about rebooted Stephanie Brown as opposed to the OG Stephanie Brown. The Stephanie Brown of Prime Earth is the daughter of villain Cluemaster, although growing up young, Stephanie was unaware of her father's villainous schemes. However, when she did find out, this revelation inspired her to become the hero known as Spoiler. Her goal was to spoil her father's evil plots, leaving clues so that the authorities could track him down. Red Robin ended up using his detective skills to track her down, and the two ended up teaming up. Over time, they both realized they had feelings for one another and began a relationship. Batman eventually revealed Tim's true identity to Stephanie and decided to start training her, which kind of caused a rift to develop between her and Tim Drake. Eventually, however, they would move past this. Stephanie would also receive training for her time from the Birds of Prey and her good friend Cassandra Cain, aka Orphan. Number 5. Carrie Kelly. Carrie Kelly is Batman's Robin from Earth 31. Unlike most Robins, Carrie did have parents, but they were very neglectful of her. She was saved by an elderly Batman one night who had returned from retirement. Inspired by the rescue, she bought herself a Robin costume and set out to track Batman down, armed with a slingshot and some firecrackers. Batman would take her on as Robin, but would also constantly threaten to fire her from her mantle for disobeying him. But Carrie showed so much promise, he could never bring himself to truly ever follow through. Carrie Kelly would help Batman defeat Joker when he resurfaced, and in the future would go on to become Catgirl, becoming a hero in her own right in Dark Knight Strikes Again. Number 4. Batwing. Batwing, like his father Lucius Fox, has a gifted intellect. He graduated MIT with degrees in engineering and business management, following in his father's footsteps, and like his father, became a coveted businessman for hire. Everyone everywhere wanted him to work for them, including his dad. Lucas Fox, however, was not interested in any of this. Instead, Luke turned to cage fighting and boxing, training in MMA, hoping to garner attention from Batman and be recruited into Batman Incorporated. Luke's dreams would come true, and he would be recruited to take up a mantle as the new Batwing and become the Batman of Africa. He is not only a skilled fighter with a brilliant mind, but Luke is also a great leader, like Batman and like his father, and is considered a tactical genius. Number 3. Jarro. Jarro is Batman's adopted son. He is genetically related to Starro, as he came into existence by forming from a surviving tissue sample the Batman had of the evil alien being known as Starro. He gets his name because that sample was kept in a jar. Jarro is not only capable of flight and telepathy, but he also has genius level intellect. Although technically Jarro comes from the supremely evil Starro, he loves Batman like a father, and there is nothing he wouldn't do for him. Also, I just love Jarro, he's super cute, even though he's only been in a few things. Number 2. Catwoman. Catwoman over the years has been a powerful ally to Bruce and occasionally posed as a powerful villain as well. Selina and Bruce may not have ended up tying the knot, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't consider Catwoman an extended member of the Batfamily. She's been around as long as Dick Grayson, since 1940, and is one of the people that Batman trusts the most. In fact, she really should just be considered a straight up member at this point, not even extended. She's not just a super accomplished thief, but is also a skilled unarmed and armed combatant who is known for her agility. Number 1. Lucius Fox. Lucius Fox is one of Batman's closest friends and most trusted allies. He has been around for a long time too, first appearing in Batman issue 307 in 1979. Not quite as long as Catwoman, but still pretty impressive. Although Lucius is not known for his physical prowess, he is one of the smartest and most gifted businessmen and sometimes inventors in the world, which is what makes him such a powerful friend and ally to Bruce and to Wayne Enterprises. Currently in continuity, Lucius is the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, having risen in the company since his first appearance in the New Earth continuity, where he was originally helping Bruce to run a charity organization. Bruce noticed Fox's prowess early on and quickly made him his personal assistant and financial advisor, very much valuing Lucius for his business savvy. There have been many times where it has been up to Lucius to save Wayne Enterprises Enterprises and ensure it stays afloat. And without Wayne Enterprises or his money, it would be very hard for Bruce as Batman to accomplish all that he sets out to do. Also, can we just talk about Morgan Freeman playing Lucius Fox in the Dark Knight movies? So good! So awesome. Ugh. Lucius Fox is great.
Number 10. Legionary. When the original Legionary was killed by Wingman, his daughter, Pippi Giovanni, took up the mantle and became the protector of Rome, Italy. She took on a position with Batman Inc. and made it her mission to take out a crime boss named Charlie Caligula. She managed to use her impressive espionage skills to infiltrate Caligula's organization, becoming his assistant and remaining undercover for several months until Luke Fox was sent to help her bring Caligula down. Legionary only had one major appearance in Batwing number 26, but showed herself to be a capable acrobat, an adept computer hacker, and a skilled combatant. She hasn't gotten a chance to show off many of her other skills, so she's ranked at the bottom of this list, but this might change if she makes any future appearances. Number 9. Night Runner. Bilal Assala was a student in Paris who lived in an area that was plagued with racial tensions. His friend Arif and him got caught in the middle of a riot between protesters and police, and they were brutally beaten by the cops. Arif burned down a police station in revenge but was beaten to death by the police soon after. Bilal took up parkour and trained, eventually becoming the vigilante Night Runner. When Batman came to Paris to establish a Batman Inc. franchise, Night Runner helped him and Dick Grayson take out a ring of mind-controlled assassins, and Batman chose him to be the Batman of Paris. Dick Grayson trained him to fight, and he became such an effective vigilante that Paris's other vigilante decided to retire, leaving the city under Night Runner's protection. Number 8. Clown Hunter. Bao Pham was an ordinary Gotham teenager whose parents ran a struggling pho restaurant in the Narrows until one night they were visited by a pair of customers they didn't expect. Harley Quinn, after discovering that her puddin' had never tried pho, brought the Joker to the restaurant for dinner. The two ate their meals, and then Joker killed Bao's parents with his Joker gas. He left a generous $100 tip though, so you know, win some you lose some. A couple years later, when the Joker took over the city in the Joker War arc, Bao decided to take matters into his own hands and became the vigilante known as Clown Hunter. He began brutally and systematically killing any of the Joker's men who came into the Narrows. Many clowns tried to stop him, but his fighting skills and clever and deadly traps allowed him to make it through the conflict. After the war, Batman told him to stop killing and get professional help. Clown Hunter kept on fighting, eventually tracking down Harley Quinn and almost killing her before having a change of heart. He decided to take on a less lethal approach to crime fighting and was given a spot on the Batman Inc. team. Number 7. El Gaucho. First appearing all the way back in 1955 in the Batman of All Nations story in Detective Comics number 215, Santiago Vargas was an Argentinian secret agent working for the UN Covert Operations Agency known as Spiral. He was one of their most effective agents, being gifted in espionage and hand-to-hand combat. He retired as a wealthy man, but soon became bored of his wealthy lifestyle. Inspired by Batman, he became El Gaucho and joined the International Club of Heroes. When they disbanded, he continued his efforts as Argentina's premier superhero. Although he and Batman's shared history with Kathy Kane caused some tensions, the two are good friends, and he eventually became the Batman of Argentina for Batman Incorporated. Number 6. Manhunter. Frustrated at seeing guilty criminals go free, federal prosecutor Kate Spencer decided to take the law into her own hands and became the vigilante Manhunter. She blackmailed a weapons manufacturer named Dylan Battles, who had built weapons for several supervillains over the years, but was now in witness protection, into creating new equipment for her to make her a more effective crime fighter. He built her a modified Dark Star suit which granted her super strength and durability, and a power baton which she could use as a staff, as well as to fire force blasts at her enemies. She balanced her crime fighting with her law career and joined several superhero teams over the years, including Checkmate, the Department of Extra Normal Operations, the Birds of Prey, and briefly, Batman Inc. Number 5. Batman of Japan. When Japan's legendary crime fighter Mr. Unknown grew too old to do anything more than detective work, he hired Jiro Usamu to be his body double, fighting criminals in Mr. Unknown's costume based on the leads the original hero discovered. Kind of a Batman Beyond kind of situation. When the villainous Lord Deathman killed the original crime fighter, Jiro put on Mr. Unknown's suit one last time to avenge his mentor. As luck would have it, Batman had come to Japan to try and recruit the hero and was able to help Jiro track down and defeat the villain. Wanting a new start for himself, Jiro faked his own death, and Batman created a new identity for him and made him the Batman of Japan. Although not quite the detective as his mentor, Jiro is a skilled acrobat and an expert combatant armed with a utility belt full of Batman's usual bag of tricks and gadgets. He was one of the first members recruited to Batman Inc. and remains on the team to this day. Number 4. Batwing. A former child soldier from the African nation of Matamba, David Savimbi was a distant member of his nation's royal family. He was eventually chosen to be a figurehead for the many different interests that really controlled the country. He first came to the attention of Batman when he helped the Dark Knight link a number of child soldier training camps to the evil organization Leviathan. As thanks, he was given his Batwing power armor and given the position of the Batman of Africa. He worked as a double agent, publicly supporting the oligarchs who ran his country, but secretly working against them with Batman Inc. In addition to his considerable hand-to-hand combat skills, he is a very competent detective, and his Batwing suit also allows him to fly with the help of a jetpack. He eventually retired and gave over the Batwing mantle to Lucius Fox's son Luke. Luke made several improvements to the suit and is the more powerful version of the character, but as he is a member of the Bat family, he is disqualified from this list. Number 3. Cyril Sheldrake, the Knight. When Percy Sheldrake, the Earl of Wardenshire, and his son Cyril heard about the activities of the original Batman and Robin, they were inspired to become vigilantes themselves, calling themselves the Knight and Squire. Things went well until Percy was forced to swallow a bomb and killed by his arch-nemesis Spring-Heeled Jack. This caused Cyril to go off the deep end and squander his fortune due to a substance abuse issue. He was found and helped by Beryl Hutchinson, whereupon he took up his father's mantle and made Beryl his new squire. He's a good detective with advanced hand-to-hand combat skills as well as expert swordsmanship skills. He wears a magical suit of armor that repels blows from swords and light projectiles. After the Black Glove trapped them and the other members of the original Batmen for All Nations in a series of elaborate death traps, Knight and Squire formed a strong friendship with Batman and Robin, helping the Bat family during Batman's death. When Bruce Wayne returned, Knight was one of the first members to sign up for Batman Inc., becoming the Batman of England. He was an active member until he was killed by a genetically manipulated clone of Damian Wayne while he was saving his squire's life. After his death, Beryl took up her mentor's title and became the latest and current Knight. She is the leader of the United Kingdom's superhero team Knights Inc., as well as a prominent Batman Inc. member. Number 2. Talon. When a young Calvin Rose's father locked him and chained him up in a dog kennel and threw away the key, Calvin discovered he had a gift for escaping and ran away to join Haley's circus. He was taken in by the circus's escape artist and trained to become the world's greatest escape artist. He took over the act when he was 13 upon his mentor's death until Mr. Haley took him to give a private performance for the Court of Owls. Impressed with the young man's skills, the court took him in and began training him to be their assassin, Talon. He was also given the Electrum formula, which allows him to heal from most injuries at an accelerated rate and would prevent him from aging or dying. He was sent on an assassination mission, but when he discovered the Court of Owls' evil nature, he fled and became a vigilante in Gotham. He eventually came face to face with Batman, who allowed him to continue his activities on the condition that he joined Batman Inc. Although this was a relatively brief stint for the Talon before he went back to being an independent. Number 1. Ghostmaker. When Minkoa Khan was a child, a psychologist diagnosed him as a psychopath due to his inability to feel fear or empathy. His wealthy family was forced to sell their company to the Midas crime family, and upon seeing the emotional toll it took on his parents, he decided to become a crime fighter so he could get revenge. He traveled the world to learn from as many masters as he could, and as a result was constantly running into Bruce Wayne, who was training at the same time. They developed a friendship as well as a friendly rivalry, and considered pooling their efforts, but their different views on crime fighting led to a falling out between the two. They made a deal that Khan would stay out of Gotham, and in exchange, Bruce would stay out of any city that Khan set up in. Khan became the lethal vigilante Ghostmaker, and spent many years taking down criminal organizations around the world. After the Joker War, Ghostmaker broke his vow and came to Gotham hoping to show Batman that his methods didn't work. He captured the Clown Hunter, planning on killing him for being a murderer who was endangering civilians, but Batman convinced him to spare the boy as he was working to rehabilitate him. Ghostmaker decided to stay in Gotham to help Batman, agreeing not to kill anyone as it would be an interesting challenge for him. He eventually agreed to train Clown Hunter and joined Batman Inc. As someone who is trained with all of the same masters as Batman, Ghost Hunter has all of the skills of the Dark Knight and is one of the most dangerous members of Batman Incorporated.
Alright, so as the whole name of the Bat family might suggest, this group of like-minded individuals surrounds itself around one central person: Batman. First appearing in Detective Comics number 27 in May of 1939, Batman, as most of you know, has been a key player in the DC universe pretty much since it began. As for his family, well, let's start off way back in the good old first days, the golden age of comics. This is the Bat family as it was before the whole DC universe first got reorganized, the first time. So it's also, technically, in the modern continuity, the Bat family of Earth 2. So, when Batman first showed up, he was caped crusading all by his lonesome. No parents, no butler, no nothing. Bob Kane and Bill Finger, the Batman creators, alongside Jerry Robinson, decided that Batman needed someone else, and so they created the very first member of what would become the Batfamily in the form of Richard Dick Grayson as Robin the Boy Wonder. Robin first appeared in Detective Comics Volume 1 number 38 in April of 1940 when his birth family, the Flying Graysons, were accidentally killed and Bruce Wayne took in the young lad and trained him on how to fight crime. Batman and Robin operated as a solid two-player team for a long while. Now back in those early Golden Age days, Batman actually became an honorary member of the GCPD, and with that, Commissioner James Gordon, who also first appeared at the same time as Batman in Detective Comics number 27, became part of the Batman family. Now you can kind of count him, you can kind of not. It really depends on the era that we're talking about. But not too long after these three were operating as a well-oiled unit, we were introduced to another pivotal figure of the Batman family. Quite possibly the sticky glue that holds these traumatized and broken crime fighters together. Alfred Pennyworth, Alfred Beagle, or simply Alfred the Butler was introduced in Batman number 16 in May of 1943, acting as the #1 supporting member of the team, or group, or whatever you want to call them. Now, following this period of time, we start to shift towards the Silver Age of comics, and that's when, thanks to public pressures and scrutiny at the time, Batman, Robin, and the Bat family were given 4 more allies in the form of a dog, Ace the Bat Hound, appearing in Batman Volume 1 number 92 in June 1955, a Batman worshipping magical 5th dimensional imp called Batmite, who appeared in Detective Comics Volume 1 number 267 in May of 1959, and the dynamic duo were given female love interests in the form of Catherine Kathy Kane, Batwoman, first appearing in Detective Comics number 233 in July 1956, and Betty Kane, Kathy's niece, and the first ever Batgirl, appearing in Batman number 139 in April 1961. Now, these additions to the Bat family didn't last incredibly long, as editor Julius Schwartz took over control of the Batman comics in 1964 and got rid of Batwoman, who was seemingly de-lifed, Batgirl, who retired, Ace, who also retired, and Batmite, who was expelled from this dimension, as he thought the characters were too silly, especially for the new stories he wanted for the Batman character. So instead, Schwartz worked alongside the 1996 Batman TV show producer, William Dozier, in order to introduce a new female character. Barbara Gordon, who first appeared in August 1951, was introduced as the new Batgirl in Detective Comics Volume 1, issue 359 in January of 1967. As the daughter of Police Commissioner Gordon, it improved upon the previous Batgirl and Batwoman and let Barb kind of stand as her own character, not simply as a love interest, which is usually a good thing. And that kind of makes up the Silver Age. The current Bat family members all started to make moves in their own ways throughout the Bronze Age. Other characters like the villain Catwoman, or Selina Kyle on Earth 2, the Golden Age character's Earth, became a solid romantic interest for Batman, joining the Bat family alongside their daughter, Helena Wayne, who would go on to become Huntress. But again, this would be on Earth 2 and therefore doesn't really count for what we're talking about. Now, Richard Grayson, who was Robin at the time, started to become a very important member of the Teen Titans, but that caused DC some problems as the Batman and Robin dynamic was also starting to become popular again. In order for the two things to be able to happen and work simultaneously, early on in the 80s, Dick Grayson became the leader of the Teen Titans and took on the name of Nightwing, and the new Robin was introduced in the form of Jason J. Todd in Batman number 357 in March 1983. Jason was the son of another acrobatic circus family inspired by the Flying Graysons. Can you guess what their name was? Yes, that's right, it's the Flying Todds. Ooh! The Todds passed away at the hands of Killer Croc, leaving little Jason to be taken under the wing of Batman and join the Bat family. Now, the issue of the two Robins' extremely similar backstories left Jason being a little overlooked, but luckily for him, and for any other continuity or character issues that DC was dealing with at the time, the Crisis on Infinite Earths event had arrived in April 1985. Luckily, the family still remained largely the same after this event. Jason's story was worked to be a bit better, and both Alfred and Commissioner Gordon became more frequent supporting cast members. Batgirl Barbara Gordon seemed to kind of fall to the wayside though, as writers couldn't really figure out what to do with her. It is in the late 80s that Batman stories really hit a turning point, with both Batman the Killing Joke in July 1988 and Batman A Death in the Family starting in December of 1988, where the Joker crippled Barbara Gordon and took the life of Jason Todd, respectively. From this point, the family surprisingly seemed to actually grow more, with Tim Drake being introduced as the new Robin after he deduces the true identities of Batman and Robin, which took place in the Batman A Lonely Place of Dying storyline from Batman number 440 to 442 in October to December of 1989. And Barbara became an information broker and Batman's girl in the chair as Oracle, fully revealed in Suicide Squad Volume 1 number 38 in February 1990. The next addition to the Bat family would be introduced in Batman's Sword of Azrael number 1 in 1992, where we meet John Paul Valley, otherwise known as, you guessed it, Azrael, who becomes Batman's apprentice and even takes over his role in the 3-part Batman Nightfall crossover event starting in Batman number 492 in May of 1993 that sees the Venom-enhanced Bane break Bruce Wayne's spine. Azrael really stirred things up as Batman. He was much more violent and unethical than Bruce is, and as such caused the Bat family to kind of break apart temporarily. Tim Drake went off alone, Jim Gordon stopped working with the Bat, and Bruce stopped being interested in recovering from his injuries, forcing Alfred to walk away from his position. But Bruce obviously recovered and took the Batman mantle away from John Paul and temporarily gave it to Dick Grayson during Batman Prodigal from November 1994 to January of 1995. Everyone went back to their original places and Azrael came back and would team up with Batman from time to time. 2 more members to the Bat family became introduced around this time as well. Helena Bartonelli, the daughter of a crime boss, eventually became the new Huntress in the post-Crisis mainstream universe, first appearing in Huntress number 1 in April of 1989. There was also Stephanie Brown, who was a friend of Tim Drake and daughter of the supervillain Cluemaster, who started off her vigilante career as Spoiler, appearing in Detective Comics Volume 1, number 647 in August of 1992. Gotham was struck by an earthquake and became a no man's land for criminals to run amok in Detective Comics number 719 in March 1998. And with that, the Bat family sprung into action. Helena took on the role of Batgirl to strike fear into criminals, but it resulted in a confrontation with Batman that Helena failed, so Batman instead handed the Batgirl costume and title over to a friend of Oracle who proved helpful in the start of the No Man's Land event. That would be Cassandra Cain. Cassandra is the daughter of assassins David Cain and Lady Shiva, and was bred to become the perfect killer, and she is actually one of the greatest martial artists in the world, even rivaling Batman. Alongside this new Batgirl, Batman called on all members of the current Bat family. That's Dick Grayson as Nightwing, Tim Drake Robin, Barbara Gordon as Oracle, Azrael, and even Selina Kyle Catwoman, alongside the Bat family supporters of Commissioner Gordon, Alfred Pennyworth, and Gotham City physician Leslie Tompkins. Together they all successfully wrestled back control of Gotham City, so yay! That's good. After this point though, the team remained unchanged until the death of Azrael, which was really a turning point for the family. Batman distanced himself away from the team and started working with Sacha Bordeaux, Bruce Wayne's personal security and eventually Batman's crime-fighting partner, introduced in Detective Comics number 751 in December of 2000. The two are framed for the death of Vesper Fairchild though and go to prison, where Bruce escapes and Sacha gets blackmailed into becoming part of the secret organization called Checkmate. Now after this, a gang war breaks out in Gotham and Batman gets help from former League of Assassins assassin Onyx Adams, who helps out, becoming another member of the Bat family in 2004. This is also when Stephanie Brown rose to and fell from the Robin mantle and was seemingly killed. But not really. This led directly to Batman number 635 in February of 2005, otherwise known as the start of Batman Under the Hood, which saw the shocking return of an actually not dead Jason Todd as the extremely violent Red Hood, who joins the Bat family after causing them a whole hell of a lot of grief. From this point, we don't see any new additions to the Bat-themed family until Batman number 655 in September 2006, and the beginning of the Batman Batman and Son storyline, which introduces Damian Wayne as the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. So yes, the addition of a surprise son left things a little tense in the Bat family, and when Batman was quote-unquote killed and sent to battle through time by Darkseid in 2008 to 2009's Final Crisis, it left a vacuum that became a battle royale across Gotham in the storyline Batman Battle for the Cowl. Some of the Bat family struggled to find the missing Batman, while others fought to take over the mantle. A final battle between Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake ended up with a victory for Dick Grayson, who became Batman once again, promoting Damian Wayne to the mantle of Robin and forcing Tim Drake to become Red Robin. It's around this time we get an all-new Batwoman in 52 number 7 in August of 2006. Now while the Silver Age Batwoman was Kathy Kane, the new Batwoman mantle is taken up by the army brat Kate Kane, who is a lesbian expelled from West Point due to her sexuality. Now she is Bruce Wayne's cousin through her father Jacob Kane, who is Martha Wayne's brother. It is after this that Stephanie Brown is indeed still alive, and she steps into the new position of Batgirl from Cassandra Cain, who went on to become Black Bat and haunts my nightmares. In Batman and Robin number 16 in January of 2011, Bruce finally realizes that despite all of his lone work and brooding, he was never actually alone. So he decides to expand, and as Bruce Wayne, he reveals that Bruce was the beneficiary behind Batman's technology, and then Batman's reach would go worldwide as Batman Incorporated. But then we got the New 52 in September 2011, and it all didn't matter anymore. Essentially, New 52 for Batman sets him back to being an undercover urban legend, only being publicly active for 5 years. He has an alliance to Jim Gordon, but the GCPD are still hostile towards him. Dick Grayson still operates as Nightwing and was the original Robin, but never took on the Batman role. Barbara Gordon is Batgirl again, no longer wheelchair bound. Tim Drake is Red Robin and founding member of the Teen Titans. Jason Todd is still Red Hood and he leads his own team called the Outlaws, and Damian Wayne is Robin. But now, to make things more confusing, in DC Rebirth in 2016 and DC Infinite Frontier in 2021, a lot of history is reworked back into continuity. So, to clean things up for the Bat family, during Bane's takeover of Gotham City, he snapped Alfred Pennyworth's neck in front of Damian Wayne. It broke the Robin and he went rogue, leaving and eventually returning again as Robin. But while Damian was gone, Tim Drake took on the Robin role yet again. Barbara, who became Batgirl, stepped down to become Oracle again as the physical strain was too much on her spine. Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain stayed as Spoiler and Orphan respectively, but they were collectively known as Batgirls, which is confusing. And Kate Kane stayed as Batwoman. A new hero, the metahuman Duke Thomas, became the Signal and came into the Bat family starting as the leader of the 2015 We Are Robin gang. John Paul Valley stayed as Azrael, Helena Bartonelli became Huntress once again, and what may be a surprise to some of you, Harley Quinn also joined the Bat family, making amends from her time as a villain and under the very watchful eye of Batman.
Number 10, Orphan. Sure, we've already gotten a version of Cassandra Cain with the Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey film, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that movie. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, hands down, and not even just within superhero film rankings, just in general, I really love that movie. And I enjoyed the version of Cassandra that we got in that film. But she wasn't really much like the version of Orphan and Cass Cain that we are more familiar with from the comics. And it might be cool to see another version of that character that offered something more in line with Cassandra's tragic backstory, her level of shyness, as well as her deadly moves. I don't know what this is. Not deadly, I'll tell you that much. In the comics, Orphan is the moniker for Cassandra, the daughter of David Cain and Lady Shiva. A deal was struck between her parents for David to end up with full custody of Cassandra, so he might train her to be one of the deadliest assassins and weapons in the world. He did just that, but fortunately, one day Cassandra escaped her evil father and found her way to Gotham. There she would end up meeting Batman and become his ally, eventually joining the Bat family and becoming known as Batgirl.
At number 9, we have Lucas Fox, aka Batwing. Now, Luke isn't actually a blood relative of Bruce Wayne, obviously, but he joins the Bat family through training and hard work. Much to the chagrin of his wealthy father, Lucas Fox uses his extreme intellect not to climb corporate ladders, but to prepare himself for the sought-after position of Batwing. He spends his time cage fighting, trying to get Batman's attention, and gearing up for the chance that Batman offers him a position as Batwing. This comes at a perfect time because David Zavimbe had just retired from taking on the mantle, so Lucas gets the job. He's first brought on as a sort of tech support for the Batman family, repairing the Belfie headquarters as well as disabling a mini nuke that was gonna destroy the whole city. So when he's officially induced into the family, he's finally allowed to help Batman in efforts like taking down the Penguin. But his strongest suit tended to still be as a tech expert, designing a new Batsuit for Jean-Paul to save him from his insanity and fall to the spirit of Azrael. He's a real asset to the Batman family, and we hope to see him represented in some way in coming DCEU projects.
Number 8. Azrael. Azrael was once the hero that Bruce Wayne most trusted to take his place as Batman. He left Gotham in Azrael's, aka John Paul Valley's, hands after his back was broken by Bane. Azrael had a hard time letting go of the mantle though when Bruce miraculously managed to heal and returned to take back the cape and cowl. But he's been an ally to Batman again in the past, despite how everything ended in more of a fight that time around. Azrael believed the Order of Saint Dumas, who he fought for, was just initially, but came to question the order over time. And more than that, Jean-Paul in the past has also had to question his own sanity as well. He's also an interesting one to have as a part of the Bat family in the DCEU, because if they decided to take some influence from his character in the White Knight universe, he could be a part of the Bat family in more ways than one, as in that universe he is a true Wayne as well.
At number 7 we have Damian Wayne. This character would be a great addition to any Batman movie or show, not only because he's one of Batman's most recent Robins, but also because he's Bruce Wayne's son. And what makes things even more spicy is that he's basically evil. I mean, his mother is a supervillain, Talia al Ghul, and daughter to another one of the world's greatest supervillains, so villainy kinda runs in the family. And when Damian Wayne is being brought up by his mother, it's kept from Bruce that he even exists for most of his upbringing, which is a tragedy because Bruce probably wouldn't have approved of Damian training in the League of Assassins, becoming a skilled assassin at a young age. When Damian is brought to Batman's attention, however, things don't get much better, as Damian has a much more aggressive disposition than his father. In the Injustice storyline, Damian even betrays Batman by teaming up with an evil Superman and facing off against the whole Justice League. Although there are moments where Damian shows heroic tendencies, he's not the most cooperative sidekick to Batman. And I just think that all these themes of family drama, power struggle, and good versus evil would just be great additions to any new project in the DCEU.
Number 6. Red Hood. Obviously Jason Todd has a lot of fans when it comes to him being kind of like the middle child of the Bat family. He's more of a loner than most of the other Bat family members, and that's really saying something, because this is a family that includes the Dark Detective himself as its patriarch. Bruce himself isn't always known for being the most team-oriented or most cuddly of characters. Jason Todd himself has been through a lot and is a complex character. He's been a sidekick, a hero, a villain, an anti-hero, and he's been through a lot along the way. There are many fans out there who would love to see him join the DCEU and take to the big screen because of this, and I think the character is continually building popularity in shows like Titans just proves how well he can transcend to live-action mediums.
One of the oldest characters on this list, Clayface, or Basil Karlo, makes his first appearance in the original Detective Comics series in 1940. This villain is basically a jealous actor who becomes enraged when he isn't offered the lead role in a remake of a film he had formerly starred in. So he adopts the persona of the deformed Clayface, the character in one of his earlier horror films, as you do. You know, I know what you're thinking. This guy does not sound like a family man, but what's great about this character is that he is basically turned from the dark side by Batman and Batwoman and invited to join the Gotham Knights. While he's teamed up with the Bat family, he spends time with Dr. Victoria October, who develops a serum to cure him of his aggression and delusions. Unfortunately, however, Clayface takes over again while Basil Karlo is trying to cure a Gotham neighborhood from a man-made serum that turns them all into monsters, ironically. And Batwoman needs to shoot him. But right as he's lying there dying, he's cured of his monstrosity. But then he still dies. But if you ask me, I think this character's storyline is pretty unique, and he's one of the OG Batman characters, which gives him some points. Plus, I just think it would be so cool to see what visual effects artists do with the look of this guy if he appeared in the DCEU. Or maybe it would just be gross.
Number 4. Ghostmaker. Ghostmaker was actually a character that I was ready to dislike when he first appeared in the comics, and yet the more I got to know him, the more I really fell for this character. Ghostmaker is known as Koa Khan. He was a figure from Batman's past, a friend he had made while training out in the world when he was younger. Koa and Bruce seemed to want similar things, but each had their own approach and own motives for what they did as vigilantes. Ghostmaker is also somewhat psychotic. He doesn't seem to feel empathy or fear like most other people do, having more of a disconnect there. Although he does occasionally seem capable of empathy depending on the circumstances. He is just as deadly as Bruce and initially showed up in the pages of Batman as an antagonist who was striving to prove he was actually better suited to be the hero of Gotham than Batman was, and that his methods were actually more efficient and effective in comparison. In the end, however, he ended up joining forces with Batman, acting as his ally as he was welcomed into the Batfamily fold.
Okay, at number 3, I've chosen to put a doggo because you don't often see animal characters worked into superhero movies tastefully, and I think the DCEU has a golden opportunity to give it a shot. Although maybe that's been proven a bad idea already with that new DC League of Super Pets movie coming out. I don't know, personally no. Too many superhero animals in one movie. I think if they added Ace into a more typical, serious DC storyline in tasteful ways, it would be a great challenge for the DCEU and give the bigger fans something to chew on. I mean, Ace isn't just a regular dog. He appears a few times with powers, like in Batman issue 133 when he's endowed with crypto-level powers for a time, or in Detective Comics 623 and 624 when he's portrayed as sort of a demonic beast with telepathy and an appetite for criminals. Or if they wanted, they could just keep him cute and innocent, like in Ambush Bug number 3 or Animal Man number 25. However he's portrayed, I think the DCEU or even the MCU haven't yet perfected the incorporation of animal characters, often coming off as corny or campy. But if it was done right, Ace the Bat Hound might be a great addition to a DCEU project, helping to ground the humanity of the characters or even enhance the world of the story as a superpowered pupper.
Number 2. Nightwing. One character that has become even more popular somehow in the last few years, despite already being one of the most well-known Batfamily members, is Nightwing, aka Dick Grayson, aka Batman's first Robin, and really his first son in my heart. Adopted son, of course, but that isn't really significant when we're talking about the bond between Batman and Robin and Bruce and Dick Grayson. Well, I don't know if we'd see Nightwing as an adult or see him under his Robin mantle first. He certainly would be a cool one to have in the DCEU. We know we are getting Batgirl, aka Barbara Gordon, who's often known for being one of Dick Grayson's main love interests, and we already have Batman, so I think it might be cool to see a version of Nightwing who has already been Batman's partner and is breaking out on his own. After all, most of us are already familiar with the Batman and Robin story, so I think this is one where the origin might not need to be covered in depth for us to just jump right in.
Okay, finally at number 1 we have Talia al Ghul, skilled supervillain and disgruntled ex to Bruce Wayne. Talia is a very complex character in the Batman family, having brought up Bruce's son Damian without him knowing for the most part, as I mentioned before. But the way that she ended up pregnant with Batman's son is even more sinister, having seduced Bruce Wayne into thinking he was in love when really it was kind of just a ploy to merge the Wayne and the Al Ghul families. She just wanted an heir to put into the League of Assassins. That's like if somebody married you just to have a kid with you, dumped you, then put the kid into terrorist camp without you knowing, for like 8 summers in a row. It's just not good. I will say though that she is credited with taking down the Red Hood gang, but somehow that doesn't seem to redeem her training the League of Assassins or trying to take out Batman Incorporated and capitalism as a whole with the Leviathan organization. Talia al Ghul really poses a threat to Batman by taking advantage of his human emotions, sort of like Catwoman, except at least Catwoman seems to have a soft spot deep down. This just doesn't seem to be the case with Talia, who I think would add a lot to the DCEU.
And with that, number 10, Duke Thomas. Now I feel like this might bother a few people, but honestly, this young blood still has to prove himself in my eyes. There is absolutely no doubt he is powerful. As one of the only metahumans on the Batfamily roster, he is already naturally a cut above many others. But there are so many more that could bring him down without even needing superpowers. Powers powers don't always equal superiority on this family. Speaking of his powers though, Duke wields ghost vision, which he uses to perceive people and moments in the past and the future. He also wields a cosmic awareness that extends into other realities and has even used the ability to travel across dimensions by using light and shadow. He originally started as part of the We Are Robin movement but left and ended up making it on his own. Batman took him in, helped train him, and then sent him out to be part of the new Outsiders team with Black Lightning. Number 9. Damian Wayne. You see, the thing with Damian Wayne here is that he is just kind of a big old pain in any bat-shaped butt. By all accounts, Damian Wayne could grow to become the best Robin and even possibly the best of the Bat family. There is no doubt he has an incredible amount of skill, having been raised and trained by Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, the League of Assassins, and Batman himself. He is more than capable, but he is a child, and an incredibly obnoxious child who lacks any discipline, loyalty, or commitment, not to mention the fact that he lacks a real moral code of any kind. His arrogance and his youth are bad enough that they bring this little guy way down on this list, but give it some time, things may change. If y'all are enjoying this list so far, make sure you give it a like for part 2, or maybe even a list of Batman Incorporated members? Ooh. Number 8. Batwing. Luke Fox is not the first Batwing, but for a lot of us, he is the coolest one. Being the son of Lucius Fox, Luke is a tech genius, graduating a year early with 2 degrees from MIT. His tech prowess really aids him as he has an incredibly advanced suit of armor that does a lot. For example, the suit has a full faceplate, retractable cape, and an interior skin that monitors vital signs and enacts first aid, like hardening around broken bones to hold the bone in place and administering painkillers. It gives Luke a form of invisibility, detective vision, holograms, it can access the GCPD computers, features gyroscopic assist, a terrain map, shock charges, a kinetic patch, anti-personnel plates, and so much more. This is on top of Luke's training as an MMA fighter before his Batman training. Unfortunately, he just hasn't received a chance to shine on the spotlight yet and primarily works as a supporting character in most Bat family storylines. Number 7. Batwoman. There have been a few different Batwomen over the years, but the one who will always stick in most fans' minds would have to be Kate Kane. As a child of military parents, Kate has a soldier's mentality, which just adds to her amazing fighting skills which she has cultivated over the years, not to mention a deep, intense desire to be the best she can possibly be. She received training from the Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and Special Air Service, and the villain Shadow helped train her in vigilantism. Following Batman's disappearance after the Infinite Crisis, Kate Kane assumed the Batwoman mantle and stepped in to become Gotham's protector. Kate has even displayed some superpowers. At one point, an injury left her able to detect electromagnetic fields. Don't ask me how that works, I don't know. And in the future Imperfect storyline, she even became a vampire. Number 6. Tim Drake. While there have been other Robins, Tim Drake is probably the best of the best. Of those who have come before, over the years, he isn't the most experienced, he isn't the strongest fighter, but his stealth, his tactics, and his detective skills are on par with Batman himself. Hell, the whole reason he even became Robin in the first place was because he literally figured out who Batman was all on his own. Drake ended up becoming Red Robin as he matured and is the most level-headed and intelligent member of the entire Bat family, but he isn't a pushover in a fight either. He has received training from obviously Batman, but also Lady Shiva, becoming another one of the Bat family's most gifted fighters. He is one of the most unique members of the Bat family, and his costume as Red Robin? Gabella. Number 5. Jason Todd. The black sheep of the Bat family. While Tim Drake is easily the most intelligent, Jason Todd is easily the most brutish. He's a powerful heavy hitter, aggressive, and at the peak of human conditioning. Red Hood is a fearsome challenger, but when Jason Todd first popped on the scene as Batman's second ever Robin, fans hated him. It's one of the big reasons that he was very shockingly taken away in the A Death in the Family storyline. Luckily for everyone, he was granted a second shot at life thanks to the Lazarus Pits, which also granted him near immortality and enhanced regeneration properties. Jason Todd has gotten a much better second wind under the Red Hood. Number 4. Batgirl. For a long while, Barbara Gordon was one of DC's strongest female characters, and Even after Joker disabled her, her sheer determination still allowed her to become more powerful and one of the most powerful members of the Bat family as Oracle. Before becoming Batgirl, Barbara trained in judo, kung fu, eskrima, and karate, among others, and after her paraplegia, her skills were only further honed by Kung Fu master Richard Dragon. As Oracle, she was the Bat family's girl in the chair, and she was invaluable in that position, at times being the literal glue that held together the Bat family. Number 3. Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson was the first Robin, and people loved him. He was an incredibly popular character, and the duo of Batman and Robin was iconic. But when Richard moved on and became leader of the Teen Titans, not to mention becoming Nightwing, he elevated to a whole other level. He has fought threats not just outside Gotham, but outside this planet. His years and years over other members of the Bat family give him a definitive edge that puts him almost on par with Batman himself. He's incredibly talented as a crime fighter, so much so that he has even elevated into the role of Batman himself on a few occasions. He is looked up to by all other members of the Bat family, is one of the best acrobatics in the DC universe, not to mention among the greatest fighters, and he's also my favorite. Number 2. Cassandra Cain. Dick Grayson may very likely be the best of the best in the Bat family, but there are 2 others who would still beat him down. One of which would be Cassandra Cain. She's the daughter of the most dangerous woman in the world, Lady Shiva, as well as the original orphan, David Cain. She was brought into the world and trained by the League of Assassins to be the one who is all and the ultimate bodyguard for Ra's al Ghul. She received even more training from Bronze Tiger, Merlin the Archer, Batman himself, Lady Shiva, Oracle, and Black Canary. She is scary. She has near metahuman levels of speed, immense resistance to pain, and she can read people's body language, which allows her to mimic anyone's fighting styles and predict their next moves. Literally a terrifying human being. Number 1. Batman. If you expected anyone else to take the number 1 spot, then just get the heck out of here. Go on. Go. He is the whole reason the Bat family even exists in the first place. He has trained every member to wind up on the group. He calls the shots. He is the alpha. He is the omega. For another member to wind up taking the Batman mantle is the ultimate honor, and very, very few have actually done it. He is the world's greatest detective. If it weren't for Cassandra Cain, he would easily take the title of world's greatest hand-to-hand fighter, and despite Cassandra's skills, he could probably still do it. His force of will alone is enough to land him near the top of this list. Batman is arguably one of the greatest superheroes, and as a regular dude who stands among gods, he has reason to hold that title. Number 10. Ace the Bat Hound. Of all the Bat family pets, Alfred the Cat, Bat Cow, Titus, Ace came first, and he wasn't just another pet of Damian Wayne. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I'm just saying. Now, Ace seems to actually be a name shared by many dogs who have worked with Bruce Wayne and his companions. When he first appeared in Batman number 462 in May of 1991, Ace was a shepherd type, and that's been the most popular breed, usually a German Shepherd, but he was also a Mastiff for a long while. The most recent and popular German Shepherd, Ace the Bat Hound, was an attack dog for the Joker and was not treated very well. Luckily, this very good boy was taken in by Alfred and the Bat family. Number 9. Jarro. I love Jarro. If you have seen the newest Suicide Squad movie, the one with Idris Elba and John Cena, even though you can't actually see him, then you know who Starro is. He's that massive, terrifying starfish alien conqueror. He's actually one of the Justice League's earliest villains, and he poses a massive threat as he can use his drones to take control of an entire population, and he has subdued members of the Justice League multiple times. Well, Starro got ripped into pieces, and Batman took a piece and grew it into another version of Starro who was loyal to him and named it Jarro. It has all the abilities that Starro has and has also put the League under mind control, but in order to save them. It also calls Batman Dad, and it's just the most adorable thing I have ever seen. Number 8. Bluebird. I think Bluebird, or Harper Row, is looked over quite a bit when we talk about the Bat family, and honestly, it's understandable. She did actually step down from her hero mantle in order to get her electrical engineering skills accredited, which is honestly the most real-world reason for someone to stop being a superhero. But it was probably the smart thing to do, because Harper Row here is a whiz with electronics and electrical engineering. She has used her natural aptitude to help both her and her brother survive, as well as assisting Batman multiple times without him asking, improving improving upon some of his tech and helping out Red Robin on a few occasions too, using her homemade advanced tools and weaponry. She's actually pretty cool in my opinion, although she did have a brief time being around. If you like comic books and superheroes in general, then you are sorely missing out if you are not subscribed to us here at Top 10 Nerd. We got lists, explanations, shorts, and we're constantly trying to find new ways to talk about your favorite comic book characters. Number 7. Lucius Fox. There are a few people without which Bruce Wayne would not be where he is or able to do the things he does. Among this very select group would be Lucius Fox. First appearing in 1979, Lucius was the second in command at Wayne Enterprises. He is an incredibly adept businessman known throughout the world, but he is also, privately, Bruce Wayne's private business manager, financial executive, and not to mention, armorer. And if that weren't enough, when Bruce Wayne decided to resign, Lucius was promoted to CEO of Wayne Enterprises and the Wayne Foundation. His power definitely comes from the power of the company, his connection to Bruce, his sons Luke and Jace, who isn't a member of the Batfamily, and he does also have a military background, so there's that. Power isn't only about how big your muscles are. Number 6. Alfred. Look, I know he's number 6 on the second part of this series. Alfred is basically the patriarch of this family. He has a position that stands above pretty much everyone else. No one messes with Alfred Pennyworth, but that isn't because he will bring you down. It's because anyone who messes with Alfred brings on the wrath of the entire Bat family. If you hurt Alfred, you are simply done living. If Bruce Wayne doesn't crack and do it to you, someone else in this family will. And yes, before I hear it in the comments, yes, Alfred used to be in the army and was even trained as a member of the MI5 Nemesis program, and he has given Bruce a bit of a beatdown before, but I don't believe Bruce or any member of the Bat family could ever actually bring themselves to try and actually fight Alfred. He cares for them all, and they would all be lesser without him. Number 5. Stephanie Brown. I feel like there are mixed feelings on Stephanie Brown out there. She has had interesting history as a member of the Bat family. Originally, Stephanie fought against her father, the villain Cluemaster, under the vigilante name Spoiler. She would usually fight alongside Tim Drake Robin, and they had a bit of a relationship going on too. Batman eventually trained her up some, and when Tim was forced to step down thanks to his father, Stephanie even took up the title of Robin. But this was pretty short-lived, as she actually did not make a very good Robin. She was constantly disobeying orders and pursuing criminals on her own, which eventually led to her downfall. Thankfully, she did survive and even went on to succeed Cassandra Cain, becoming the third Batgirl. Now, the two of them, Cassandra and Stephanie, are the duo known as the Batgirls. Number 4. Huntress. Like a lot of the Bat family superheroes, there have been a few versions of Huntress. The original was Helena Wayne, the daughter of both Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. Unfortunately, that character has not remained the Prime Earth's Huntress. Instead, we now have Helena Bartonelli, the only surviving member of the Bartonelli family. She has dedicated her life to a vendetta on crime after her family was wiped out by being a part of that said crime. She was actually incredibly ruthless, very much willing to take the lives of criminals, which brought her and Batman to odds a few times. But with that famous determination, Batman was eventually able to sway her way of thinking just a little bit. She was also done really well in the Birds of Prey movie, if you haven't watched that. Number 3. Catwoman. Selina Kyle, while initially primarily a villain to Batman, has had a long, complex, and popular comic book history. As Batman's longtime on-again, off-again lover, she has a privileged place in the Bat family, but her allegiances are ultimately to herself, and her interests don't always align with Batman. Despite that, her tendency to usually do the right thing makes her a constant ally of Batman and his family. Her years of being a world-class criminal are thanks to her stealth, acrobatic ability, and mastery of martial arts, which have in more recent years helped her to fight crime in Gotham, turning her from villain to anti-hero, who is now accepted as a member of Batman's close-knit family, not to mention the Birds of Prey, the Outsiders, the Gotham City Sirens, the Injustice League, and the Justice League. It's probably also worth mentioning she is often seen as the best match for Bruce Wayne in terms of a romantic partner. Number 2. Azrael, another hero title with multiple bearers. This time though, it's a little different. The title of Azrael belongs to the chosen warrior of the Sacred Order of St. Dumas, cloned and enhanced, subconsciously trained and conditioned and raised to be a perfect soldier. The most famous and the one I'm going to talk about today is John Paul Valley. Once he became Azrael, Valley had encountered both Bruce and Alfred in Switzerland, saved them, and actually abandoned his own order for Bruce Wayne's moral values and went back to Gotham with the pair. He impressed Bruce Wayne so much within his time that when Bruce eventually had his back broken by Bane, it was Valley who Bruce chose to continue the Batman name. Unfortunately, this didn't go too well as he kind of lost his grip on reality, but he is an incredibly cool and capable character who has arguably gotten better in the more recent Prime Earth continuity. Number 1. Ghostmaker. Min Koa Khan, Ghostmaker, is essentially Bruce Wayne's rival from his formative years into the Batman mantle. Kinda like how in Pokemon games you always had a rival who you hate but kinda respect because they're always like challenging you and helping you to improve. That's Ghostmaker. Ghostmaker trained with a large number of the same mentors that taught Bruce Wayne, and it's arguable that Ghostmaker is equal to Batman. The difference between the two is mainly in ideologies. I mean, for starters, Ghostmaker is a psychopath. Bruce Wayne is not exactly psychologically sound, but he has a strong moral code, whereas Ghostmaker fights crime as if it's some kind of sport, and he has absolutely zero qualms with taking someone permanently out of the picture, operating mostly in Southeast Asia. He constantly used to try to get Bruce to see things from his point of view, which eventually led the two to agree to just stay out of each other's territory and out of each other's way. Luckily, he broke that pact after Joker War, and we got to see this guy come into Gotham disappointed with how Bruce had been handling things. Eventually though, they learned to work together. Coming in at number 10 is Ace the Bat Hound. Of all the Bat family pets, Alfred the Cat, Bat Cow, Titus, Ace came first, and he wasn't just another pet of Damian Wayne. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I'm just saying. Now, Ace seems to be a name shared by many dogs who have worked with Bruce Wayne and his companions. When he first appeared in Batman number 462 in May of 1991, Ace was a shepherd type doggo, and that's been the most popular breed for Ace the Bat Hound, usually a German shepherd. But he was also a mastiff for a long while as well, with no real explanation. The most recent and popular German shepherd Ace the Bat Hound was an attack dog for the Joker and was not treated very well. Luckily, this very good boy was taken in by Alfred and the Bat family, and he became the bestest Bat boy ever. Yes, he did. Number 9, Batwoman. There have been a few different Batwomen over the years, but the one who will always stick in most fans' minds would have to be Kate Kane. Now, just to be clear, this is Batwoman we are talking about and not Batgirl. As a child of military parents, Kate has a soldier's mentality which just adds to her amazing fighting skills. She has cultivated over the years, not to mention a deep, intense desire to be the best she can be always. She received training from the Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and Special Air Service, and the villain Shadow also helped to train her to become a better hero. Following Batman's disappearance after the Infinite Crisis, Kate Kane assumed the Batwoman mantle and stepped in to become Gotham's protector. Kate has even displayed some superpowers. At one point, an injury left her able to detect electromagnetic fields, and in the Future Imperfect storyline, she even became a vampire. Number 8, Bluebird. I think Bluebird, or Harper Row, is looked over quite a bit when we talk about the Bat family, and honestly, it's kind of understandable. She did actually step down from her hero mantle in order to get her electrical engineering skills accredited, which honestly, that's the most real-world reason for someone to stop being a hero. But it was probably the smart thing to do, because Harper Row here is a whiz with electronics and electrical engineering. She's used her natural aptitude to help both her and her brother survive, as well as assisting Batman multiple times without him asking, improving upon some of his tech and helping out Red Robin on a few occasions using her homemade advanced tools. She's actually very cool, in my humble opinion, in her brief time being around. Number 7, Duke Thomas. Now, I feel like this might bother a few people, but honestly, this young blood still has to prove himself in my eyes. There is absolutely no doubt he is powerful. As one of the only metahumans on the Bat family roster, he's already naturally a cut above many others, but there are so many more that could bring him down without even needing superpowers. Powers don't always equal superiority on this family. Speaking of his powers though, Duke wields Ghost Vision, which he uses to perceive people and moments in the past and in the future. He also wields a cosmic awareness that extends into other realities and has even used the the ability to travel across dimensions by light and shadow. Now, he originally started as part of the We Are Robin movement, but left and ended up making it on his own. Batman then took him in, helped train him, and then sent him out to be a part of the new Outsiders team alongside Black Lightning. Number 6, Lucius Fox. There are a few people that, without which, Bruce Wayne would not be where he is or be able to do the things that he does. Among this very select group would be Lucius Fox. First appearing in 1979, Lucius was the second in command at Wayne Enterprises. He is an incredibly adept businessman, known throughout the world, but he is also, privately, Bruce Wayne's business manager, financial executive, and, not to mention, armorer. And if that weren't enough, when Bruce Wayne decided to resign, Lucius was promoted to CEO of Wayne Enterprises and the Wayne Foundation. His power definitely comes from the power of the company, his connection to Bruce, his sons, Luke and Jace, who is not a member of the Batfamily, surprisingly, and he also does have a military background, so there is that if he's ever in like a little scuffle. It turns out that in DC, power isn't only about how big your muscles are. Number 5, Batwing. Luke Fox is not the first Batwing, but for a lot of us, he is definitely the coolest one. Being the son of Lucius Fox, Luke is a tech genius, graduating a year early with 2 degrees from MIT. His tech prowess really aids him as he has an incredibly advanced suit of armor that does a lot. For example, the suit has a full faceplate, retractable cape, and an interior skin that monitors vital signs and enacts first aid, like hardening around broken bones to hold the bone in place and administering painkillers. It gives Luke a form of invisibility, detective vision, holograms, it can access the GCPD computers, features gyroscopic assist, a terrain map, shock charges, a kinetic patch, anti-personnel plates, and just so much more. This is on top of Luke's training as an MMA fighter before his Batman training. Unfortunately, he just hasn't received a chance to shine in the spotlight yet and primarily works as a supporting character in most Batfamily storylines. Number 4, Stephanie Brown. I feel like there are a lot of mixed feelings on Stephanie Brown out there. She has had an interesting history as a member of the Batfamily. Originally, Stephanie fought against her father, the villain Cluemaster, under the vigilante name Spoiler. She would usually fight alongside Tim Drake Robin, and they had a bit of a relationship going on the side. Now, Batman eventually trained her up some, and when Tim was forced to step down, thanks to his own father, Stephanie even took up the title of Robin. But this was pretty short-lived, as she actually did not make a very good Robin, constantly disobeying orders and pursuing criminals on her own, which eventually led to her downfall. She ended up in the hospital, and it was really questionable if she would even pull through. Luckily though, she did survive and even went on to succeed Cassandra Cain, becoming the 3rd Batgirl. Now, the two of them, Cassandra and Stephanie, are the duo known as the Batgirls. Number 3, Huntress. Like a lot of the Batfamily superheroes that we have already talked about, there have been a few versions of Huntress. The original was Helena Wayne, the daughter of both Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle, and that character was loved. Unfortunately though, that character belongs to what is known as Earth 2, which is essentially the world of the original DC heroes, but she has not remained the Prime Earth's Huntress. Instead, we now have Helena Bartonelli. Well, sort of. We also have a Helena Wayne, but she's from an alternate future of Prime Earth. Are you confused? Because so am I. Let's just talk about Bartonelli. The only surviving member of the Bartonelli crime family, Helena has dedicated her life to a vendetta on crime after her family was wiped out by being a part of said crime. She was actually incredibly ruthless, very much willing to take the lives of criminals, which brought her and Batman to odds on a few occasions. But with that famous determination, Batman was eventually able to sway her way of thinking just a tiny bit. She was also done really well in the Birds of Prey movie, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. Number 2, Azrael. Another hero title with multiple bearers. This time though, it's a little different. The title of Azrael belongs to the chosen warrior of the Sacred Order of St. Dumas, cloned and enhanced, subconsciously trained and conditioned, and raised to be a perfect soldier. The most famous, and the one I'm going to talk about today, is John Paul Valley. Once he became Azrael, Valley had encountered both Bruce and Alfred in Switzerland, saving them and actually abandoning his own order for Bruce Wayne's moral values, and he went back to Gotham with both of them. He impressed Bruce Wayne so much within his time that when Bruce eventually had his back broken by Bane, it was Valley who Bruce chose to continue the Batman name. Fortunately, this didn't go too well, as he lost his grip on reality and fell from grace. But he is an incredibly cool and capable character who has arguably gotten much better on the more recent Prime Earth. Number 1, Ghostmaker. Minkoa Khan, Ghostmaker, is essentially Bruce Wayne's rival from his formative years into becoming Batman. Kind of like how in Pokemon games you always have a rival who you hate but kind of respect because they always challenge you and help you improve, Ghostmaker trained with a large number of the same mentors that taught Bruce Wayne, and it's arguable that Ghostmaker is actually equal to Batman. The difference between the two is mainly in ideologies. For starters, Ghostmaker is kind of a psychopath. Bruce Wayne is not exactly psychologically sound, but he has a strong moral code, whereas Ghostmaker fights crime as if it's a kind of sport, and he has absolutely zero qualms with taking someone permanently out of the picture. Operating mostly in Southeast Asia, he constantly tried to get Bruce to see things from his point of view, which eventually led the two to agree to just stay out of each other's way. This guy is very much rated, but for most fans of Batman, learning about Ghostmaker will come as a surprise.